There's a reason the most dangerous man in any room is the one who says the least. While everyone else is talking, explaining, defending, and justifying, he watches, he learns, he waits. You've been taught that silence is weakness, that you must answer every question, respond to every insult, fill every uncomfortable pause. That advice was designed to keep you predictable, controllable, easy to manage. Thomas Shelby never plays by those rules. He understood something most people never will. The man who needs nothing from you holds all the power. Today you learn how to become him. Let's start with the first truth, because everything else depends on it. The moment you stop needing other people's approval, you become untouchable. Most people walk through life like beggars holding out an empty cup, hoping someone will fill it with validation, recognition, a kind word. They speak to be liked. They agree to be accepted. They explain themselves over and over because they cannot stand the thought of being misunderstood. And that need, that hunger for approval, is the leash other people hold. When you crave someone's good opinion, you've handed them the controls. They decide when you feel worthy and when you feel small. Thomas Shelby walks into rooms full of men who hate him and feels nothing. Not because he's cold, but because their opinion of him is irrelevant to his plans. He has already decided who he is. No committee gets to vote on that. When you reach this state, something shifts in how people treat you. They sense that you cannot be moved by flattery or wounded by insult, and that frightens them. They no longer know which buttons to press, because you've removed the buttons entirely. You build this by practice, not by reading. Start small. The next time someone tries to provoke a reaction from you, give them nothing. No defensive explanation, no nervous laugh, no eager attempt to prove yourself. Just a flat, unbothered silence, followed by moving on. Watch what happens. The person expecting a reaction will be thrown off balance because they were counting on your need for their approval to control the exchange. When that need is gone, they have nothing left to work with. Now understand the power of saying nothing, because this is where most people get it wrong. They think silence means being passive, weak, having nothing to contribute. The opposite is true. Silence is the loudest statement you can make when you use it deliberately. Every word you speak gives information away. Your fears, your plans, your weaknesses, your next move. People who talk constantly are handing out free intelligence to everyone listening. They cannot help themselves. The silence makes them uncomfortable, so they fill it with words, and every word reveals more than they intended. Thomas Shelby lets other men talk. He sits back and watches them dig their own graves with their mouths. While they're busy proving how clever they are, he's learning exactly who they are, what they want, and how to use it against them. He speaks only when the words will move the situation in his favor. Never to impress, never to fill space, never to ease his own discomfort. You must train yourself to be comfortable in silence, because the discomfort you feel in a quiet moment is exactly what your opponents exploit. When a negotiation goes quiet, the person who speaks first to break the tension almost always loses ground. They reveal their hand, they drop their price, they explain themselves. The one who can sit in that silence, calm and unbothered, controls the entire exchange. Practice this in your next conversation after you've said what needs saying. Stop, don't add filler, don't soften it. Let the silence sit there and let the other person squirm in it. You will be amazed at how much power exists in a closed mouth. There's a deeper layer here. When you speak rarely, your words carry weight. The man who talks all day becomes background noise, easy to ignore. But the man who is mostly silent, when he finally speaks, everyone leans in to listen. His words become rare and therefore valuable. You can engineer this in your own life. Stop commenting on everything. Stop offering your opinion before anyone asks. Stop narrating your every thought. Become economical with your words and watch how much more they start to matter. Now we move to ignoring everyone, and this is more nuanced than it sounds. Ignoring people does not mean being rude or arrogant. It means refusing to let other people's noise dictate your direction. The world is full of voices telling you what you can't do, who you should be, what's realistic, what's impossible. Critics, doubters, people threatened by your ambition. If you let every one of these voices into your head, you'll never move. You'll be paralyzed by the weight of opinions from people who have no stake in your success and no vision for your life. Thomas Shelby has a plan, and he does not deviate from it because someone disapproves. He doesn't explain his strategy to people who couldn't understand it. He doesn't slow down because the crowd is uncomfortable with his pace. He moves toward what he wants, with a focus that borders on obsession, and the noise simply doesn't reach him. This is the skill you must develop. Selective deafness. The ability to hear only what serves your purpose and to let everything else pass through you like wind. Here's how you build it. First, get clear on your direction. Most people are vulnerable to every opinion because they don't actually know what they want. They have no internal compass, so they're blown around by whatever the loudest voice tells them. When you know exactly where you're going, criticism becomes easy to filter. You simply ask, does this person know my goal better than I do? Do they have a stake in my outcome? Almost always the answer is no, and you let it go. Second, understand that most criticism is a reflection of the critic, not of you. When someone attacks your ambition, they're usually revealing their own fear, their own limitations, their own regret about the chances they never took. People who gave up on themselves cannot stand to see someone refuse to give up. Your existence reminds them of their cowardice, so they try to pull you down to their level. When you understand this, their criticism loses its sting entirely. You hear it as noise from a wounded animal, not wisdom from a wise man. Third, stop seeking advice from people who've never done what you're trying to do. This is where so many people sabotage themselves. They take career advice from people who hate their jobs, relationship advice from people who can't keep a relationship, money advice from people who are broke, and because these people are close to them, they listen. Thomas Shelby would never take counsel from a man who has accomplished nothing. He surrounds himself with people who sharpen him and ignores the rest. You must do the same. Be ruthless about whose voice you let into your decisions. Let's talk about emotional control, because none of this works if you can't master what happens inside you. The reason most people react instead of respond is that their emotions run the show. Someone insults them, and rage takes over. Someone rejects them, and despair pulls them under. They're like a ship with no captain, tossed by every wave. Thomas Shelby feels emotions. He is not a robot, but he doesn't let them drive. He observes the anger, the fear, the desire, and then he decides what to do with cold clarity. This is the difference between the predator and the prey. The prey reacts. It runs the instant it's startled, jumps at every sound, exhausts itself responding to threats that aren't even real. The predator is patient, calm, deliberate. It conserves its energy. It strikes only when the moment is right, and by then the outcome is already decided. When you learn to control your emotional reactions, you stop being the prey. You stop giving away your power to anyone who knows how to make you angry or afraid. Building this control starts with a single habit, the pause. Between what happens to you and how you respond, insert a gap, a breath, a moment of silence. In that gap, you reclaim your power. Someone says something designed to provoke you, and instead of firing back, you pause. In that pause, you see clearly. You realize they want a reaction, and you decide not to give them one. You realize the anger you feel is temporary, but the consequences of acting on it might not be. The pause is where free men live. Reaction without pause is where slaves live, controlled by anyone who pulls their strings. Practice the pause everywhere. When your phone buzzes with an irritating message, pause before responding. When someone cuts you off in conversation, pause before reacting. When you feel the heat of anger rising, pause and breathe. Each time you do this, you're building a muscle. And over time, that pause becomes automatic, and you become a person who cannot be easily provoked, manipulated, or controlled. That is real power. Not the ability to dominate others, but the ability to govern yourself. Now let's address the people who will try to pull you back, because they always come. The moment you start changing, the moment you stop seeking approval and start moving with purpose, the people around you will feel it. Some will be inspired, but many will be threatened. Your growth exposes their stagnation. Your discipline highlights their weakness. And so they will try, sometimes consciously, sometimes not, to pull you back to who you used to be. They'll mock your ambition. They'll question your changes. They'll remind you of your failures. They'll say you've changed, as if that's an insult rather than the entire point. Thomas Shelby understands that not everyone who smiles at you wants you to win. He keeps his circle tight and his plans tighter. He doesn't explain himself to people who are looking for reasons to doubt him. When you start your climb, you must accept that some relationships will not survive it. People who only valued you when you were small, when you were no threat, when you stayed in your place, will resent the new version of you. Let them. Their resentment is proof that you're growing. The goal was never to keep everyone comfortable. The goal was to become who you're capable of becoming. This requires a kind of emotional independence that most people never achieve. You have to be able to walk forward even when the people behind you are calling you back. You have to be willing to be misunderstood, disliked, even hated by people who would prefer the smaller version of you. This is the price of becoming powerful. Mediocrity is comfortable because it asks nothing of you and threatens no one. The moment you reach for more, you make enemies of everyone who chose to stay small. Accept this as the cost of admission and stop expecting applause from people who are losing the race. Let's go deeper into strategy, because saying nothing and ignoring everyone are not just defensive postures, they're offensive weapons. When you reveal nothing about your plans, your enemies cannot prepare against you. They don't know where you're going, so they can't block the path. They don't know what you want, so they can't deny it to you. They don't know your timeline, so they can't disrupt it. Thomas Shelby moves in silence and lets his results make the noise. By the time people realize what he was doing, it's already done. The element of surprise is the most underrated weapon in any conflict, and silence is how you keep it. Most people destroy their own advantage by talking. They announce their plans before they execute them, looking for encouragement, for validation, for someone to tell them it's a good idea. And in doing so, they invite resistance. They give their doubters time to talk them out of it. They give their rivals time to move first. They turn a private advantage into a public debate. Don't do this. Work in silence. Build in private. Let your accomplishments be the announcement. When you finally reveal what you've done, it will be a finished thing beyond the reach of anyone's permission or approval. There's also the matter of how you handle disrespect, and this is critical. When someone disrespects you, the weak response is to explode, to argue, to demand respect loudly, but demanded respect is never real respect. It's fear at best, contempt at worst. The strong response is far quieter and far more devastating. You simply withdraw. You remove your energy, your attention, your presence. You let the person feel the absence of you. Thomas Shelby doesn't beg to be respected. He makes himself so valuable, so formidable, so independent, that disrespecting him becomes a costly mistake. He lets consequences do the talking. When someone treats you poorly, resist the urge to teach them a lesson with words. Words are cheap and easily forgotten. Instead, let your actions and your absence be the lesson. Stop showing up for people who don't value you. Stop pouring into relationships that drain you. Stop giving your best to people who give you their worst. This isn't done out of bitterness. It's done out of self-respect. When you stop tolerating disrespect, you train the world how to treat you. And you do it without a single argument, without raising your voice, without explaining yourself even once. Let's talk about focus, because all of this discipline serves a single purpose: getting what you want. The reason silence and emotional control matter is that they free up your energy for what actually counts. The average person spends their entire life reacting, defending, explaining, seeking approval, managing other people's opinions. They have nothing left for building, creating, achieving. Thomas Shelby pours everything into his objective. He doesn't waste a drop of energy on people who don't matter, or battles that don't advance his position. His focus is a weapon, and he keeps it sharp by refusing to be distracted. You have a limited amount of energy each day. Every argument you get into, every insult you respond to, every approval you chase, every opinion you worry about drains that energy. By the time you sit down to work on your actual goals, you're depleted. This is why most people never achieve anything significant. Not because they lack talent, but because they bleed their energy out on 1,000 things that don't matter. Guard your energy like the precious resource it is. Say no to the distractions. Walk away from the drama. Refuse the bait. And channel everything you save into the 1 or 2 things that will actually change your life. Here's a hard truth about discipline. The freedom and power you want exist on the other side of doing things you don't feel like doing. Everyone wants the result, Almost no one wants the process. They want the respect without the work, the power without the patience, the rewards without the discipline. Thomas Shelby does what needs to be done, whether he feels like it or not. His feelings don't get a vote in whether he keeps his word, executes his plan, or shows up for his objective. He has separated his actions from his moods, and that separation is the foundation of everything he achieves. You must do the same. Stop waiting to feel motivated. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like weather. Discipline is what carries you through the days when motivation has abandoned you. Decide what you're going to do, and then do it regardless of how you feel. When your actions no longer depend on your emotions, you become unstoppable, because there's no bad mood, no setback, no discouragement that can stop you. You simply keep moving, day after day, while everyone who relies on feeling inspired falls behind. Let's address fear, because it sits behind almost everything that holds people back. The fear of rejection makes you seek approval. The fear of conflict makes you avoid necessary confrontation. The fear of judgment makes you shrink yourself to fit other people's comfort. Thomas Shelby has made peace with fear, not by eliminating it, that's impossible, but by refusing to let it command him. He feels the fear and moves anyway. He understands that on the other side of every fear is the thing he actually wants, and that the fear is just a gate he has to walk through. The mistake most people make is waiting for the fear to disappear before they act. It never disappears. You will feel fear before every important moment of your life. The conversation you need to have, the risk you need to take, the stand you need to make, all of it will come wrapped in fear. The brave aren't the ones who feel no fear. They're the ones who act despite it. Start treating fear as a signal that you're moving toward something that matters, not a sign that you should stop. Walk toward the thing that scares you, and watch how much of your power has been waiting on the other side of it. Now let's bring this all together into how you carry yourself in the world. There's a stillness to a powerful person, a quality of being settled, unhurried, unbothered. They don't rush to fill silences. They don't scramble to please. They don't flinch at confrontation. They move through the world like they belong everywhere they go, because they've stopped asking permission to exist. This presence cannot be faked. It can only be built through everything we've discussed. The independence from approval, the comfort with silence, the control over emotion, the unshakable focus. When you've built this, people respond to you differently before you even speak. They sense the self-possession, the lack of neediness, the quiet strength. They treat you with the respect they never gave the old, anxious, approval-seeking version of you. And here's the irony. The less you need from people, the more they want to give you. The less you chase, the more comes to you. The world is drawn to people who don't need it, and repelled by people who are desperate for it. By becoming self-sufficient, by mastering yourself, you become magnetic in a way that no amount of trying ever could. Understand that this is a path, not a switch. You will not become this person overnight. There will be days you slip back into old patterns, seeking approval, reacting emotionally, explaining yourself when you should stay silent. That's fine. The point is the direction, not perfection. Every time you choose silence over noise, focus over distraction, response over reaction, independence over approval, you build the muscle a little stronger. And one day you'll realize that the things that used to control you, the opinions, the insults, the fear of judgment, have lost their grip entirely. You'll be free in a way most people never experience. So here's what stands between you and the person you're capable of becoming. It is not talent. It is not luck. It is not circumstance. It is the daily decision to stop performing for an audience that was never going to be satisfied. Stop explaining yourself to people determined to misunderstand you. Stop reacting to provocations designed to control you. Stop chasing approval that keeps you on a leash. Master the art of saying nothing when nothing needs to be said. Master the discipline of ignoring everyone whose voice doesn't serve your purpose. The power was never out there in their hands. It was always in here, in yours. Now go take it.